you're doing everything right, but your chest just isn't growing the way you want it to, then make sure you watch this video, because I'm going to show you the two biggest mistakes that are most likely holding you back. What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Last week I shared my chest workout, one that I just flipped the lights on, came down here and did last Friday night to give you a sneak peek about sort of ATHLEAN training and action. Now, it sparked a lot of questions and comments from you guys, and one of them in particular came in this week to me, and it was a kid named Craig who shared his chest workout with me and basically said, Jeff, I'm doing all the right things. I'm doing everything you were doing, but I can't get my chest to grow. What could be the problem? So he sent in his workout, and I jotted it down real quick here. Basically, Craig is doing flat bench press, 4 sets. Okay, standard classic exercise for building mass. Weighted dips, I did weighted dips in the video. 3 sets. Incline flies, you guys probably know how I feel about flies. I'll reiterate that again in a second. Here, 4 sets. And then finally, cable crossovers, of which I did a variation of that in the video as well for 3 sets. So the first thing I would look at is his total volume. And he's not one of these muscle and fitness guys that's basically reading the magazines and doing 22 to 25 sets for chest. Because if he was, my first thing would be to him, you're doing way, way, way too much. Too much volume to even start to grow. Again, most guys overtraining, especially guys that read magazines like that recommend that kind of training. So 4 sets, 3, 3, 8, and 6, he's at 14 sets. That's reasonable. Okay, a little high still for me, but reasonable. The next thing I see is that he's sort of prioritizing his strength workouts here, his strength exercises, but I find that there's a huge mistake guys make on their strength exercise. So before I even get into the next half, I want to show you what that is. If I come over here to a bench press, okay, and I'll do it on the Smith machine just so I can sort of talk and explain at the same time. If I come down here, the tendency is to forget what you're actually trying to do here. The goal on a bench press, the goal on a lat pull down, the goal on a tricep push down, it's not to move weight from point A to point B. In this case, from here to here. The goal here is to contract the muscle that you're trying to work. Right? If I was trying to work my biceps without bending my elbow, I'm not contracting. Well, the problem here is a typical bench press position here. Guys will grab outside of shoulder width. They'll come up here, come down, and press up. Okay, down and press up. Yeah, I'm moving this bar from point A to point B. Okay, rather easily. But look at the chest. Okay? There's not a lot of contraction and stimulation going on there. There's probably more going on in my triceps than there is anything here in my deltoids than there is in my upper chest or chest. So what you want to do is start to really contractually, or think about the contraction more. So we can do that if we bring our hands in narrower. Now I know guys are going to be like, well wait, isn't that the tricep bench close grip position? And no guys, it's where the chest will contract better, is in here. So what we can do is get our hands in closer, come down, and then squeeze. Immediately you can see the chest is working far more, squeeze here, than it was on my reps out here. Matter of fact, my chest is on a lot of slack out there rather than in here when I squeeze it together. So if you're not, I'm a little narrow there. Okay, right here. When you're here and you can actually contract the muscle, well, if I contract it, now I can actually get some eccentric contraction on the way out, and then with that, do some micro damage, and with that, come back and do some repair and growth. So if you're not getting that initial contraction, you can forget all the other benefits. So guys, you got to start thinking about your strength exercises in a different way. It's not just moving point A to point B. It doesn't matter if you're squatting, it doesn't matter if you're overhead pressing. Can you actually contract your deltoids on an overhead press? You have to. You have to if you want them to grow. All right, so now let me take a quick break and I'll bring you over to the next concept where I think a lot of guys are getting it wrong, and I'll show you how to fix it. Okay, so back to Craig here We covered the first half here. Again, good solid workout maybe in terms of the way it's structured, but extremely flawed when it comes to the execution. And guys, this is where I sort of think that the importance of a strength coach is to be able to say, all right, well, how many, he even wrote in that he was benching 250. So if I looked at the weight he was lifting, and if I looked at his overall volume, if I looked at the set structure, it all looks fine. It all looks fine. But if you're not getting the performance right, this is all shit. It's not going to work. So it's really important to understand what are you doing in the performance of the exercise, and that as a strength coach and really as a physical therapist is where I sort of dwell on, and that's what I try to do with my ATHLEAN-X program. Dwell on those specifics because that's what drives the results. You look at this second half, incline flies, cable crossovers. Now, he's prioritizing the strength exercise in the front versus his sort of definition exercises, if that's what you want to call them. We don't look at it that way in ATHLEAN-X. Everything is functional, athletic, right? But incline flies, here's the problem with them. I've said it before. It's a good exercise in terms of the fact that you can get adduction across the chest. That's the only thing I like about it. But could you do that in another way where your shoulder isn't as susceptible to damage? Why? Because in order to get the most out of these exercises, you can't look at them as small little isolation exercises. Because the other factor here is you need to not only be able to contract the muscle, but you need to have overload. It can't be 30 reps of 10 pounds on a cable crossover, or 20-pound dumbbells doing flies, thinking that you're really burning out the chest. You got to have overload, and overload on a fly in this position with dumbbells out here, not the smartest move. And as I said before, from a stretch perspective, you don't get extra stretch on the chest from doing that, not any more than you would at the low point of a bench press. So I've got better alternatives. Now, we've covered one before. It was actually in the workout last week, the 3D cable crossover here. What I like about this is, again, I don't look at things as isolation exercises. I look at them as functional athletic exercises. I'm ground-based here, okay? Athletic. I have the ability to work in 3 planes of motion. Again, functional. What I want to be able to do, though, is overload. This is not about lifting light. So what I do is I take it here, I come in a little bit, so I get a little help from my bicep just to get it in. But when I come from here, I'm going to drive this across my body and bring my chest up into the adducted position, okay? Cross here, and then eccentrically come out. Not to the point I would be with a fly, where if those damn dumbbells got too heavy, I drop down that way. Okay, I've seen far too many athletes tear a pec with 1 rep done incorrectly that way. Here, much more control. I got a lot of help coming from the rest of my body, all right? But in here, drive it across, okay? In here, drive it across. This is not a light weight for me, okay? Drive it across. This is not cable crossovers like a walk in the park, okay? Not what I see when I go to the gym and I see these guys, Not that. Because sure, you're getting contraction, and I like that, prerequisite, right? But with no overload. So contract, overload. These are the kind of things, guys, that make all the difference in your training. This is what ATHLEAN-X is about. Not just being able to get you the end product to look like an athlete, but to train like an athlete. And training like an athlete means incorporating a lot more than just one-dimensional thinking into your training, getting a lot more out of your workouts. If you haven't already, guys, and you want to start getting a bigger chest, Craig, if you want to start getting a bigger chest, you got to start training it the right way. Come over to ATHLEAN-X.com, grab our 90-day training program, and see just how much more effective and how much more growth you'll experience in those 90 days. Yeah, we're going to train you uniquely, but we're also going to train you the right way, as I've showed you here today. Meantime, if you found this helpful, leave me a thumbs up and a comment below, and we'll keep it rolling here. Next week, another video. I'll see you guys back here in 7 days.